For me, when you're hiring somebody and start talking a few sentences, the person is talking about the money and all that, for me, that's a red flag in hiring.
What would you say there are books that every entrepreneur should read?
Think and Grow Rich. That's the first book that comes to my mind by Napoleon Hill. I've actually seen people that have read Think and Grow Rich and they read the book and they're like, I don't understand this book. I always say that for me, it's probably maybe the best book that I've read.
Do you have any tips on how to hire the right people?
For me, it's the attitude. I'm big on the attitude of the person. Like they say, you don't make good people, you find them good. So if somebody is bad, there's nothing you're going to do. You can't change a bad person to a good person. You find good people, they may not be skillful, but you can always train them if they are good.
Bootstrapping versus looking for investors.
So they raise $1 million, they raise $5 million. But then, where's the company today? We don't hear of the company again. So what happened to the money? Money has gone. Let me say the advantage that I think is in bootstrapping is that when you bootstrap your business to a certain level, even when you're going to now raise money, you already know where you want to put the money in. Bootstrapping helps you to get so used to your business. The issue of investors too really is a dicey thing because again, we're still talking about people here. Because when you start seeking investors, you're bringing people into your business. And if you bring the wrong people in, you will regret the money.
Welcome to theBLOcounsel, where we talk about everything personal development and business development.
In your experience, what would you say there are books that every entrepreneur should read?
Well, books, there's different types of books, but I think the first one I would say is Think and Grow Rich. That's the first book that comes to my mind by Napoleon Hill. I've actually seen people that have read Think and Grow Rich and they read the book and they're like, I don't understand this book. But I think the main thing is, just like the name says, think and then grow rich. It has a lot, explanations there about, how we can actually use our mind to create wealth. I always say that for me, it's probably maybe the best book that I've read. Probably read it, only God knows, maybe 10, 11 times over and over again. Yeah, there's stories about, many people who have made a lot of money in business in the book. So you can actually reflect on many stories there. Then, like I said, it has a lot to do with the power of the mind. It speaks a lot about how you can use your mind, how thinking in itself, because personally, I always say the thinking job is the biggest job because a lot of people wonder sometimes that, somebody is the CEO or somebody is in charge of a company. He doesn't do much, or he doesn't even, but the reality is that the big job is thinking because not everybody wants to think, which is the truth. And it is from thinking that you find solutions to problems, not from running around. That's why you find that sometimes when problems happen, issues happen, these problem solvers just keep quiet and just try to think. So Think and Grow Rich is that book that talks about faith. I think there's a chapter on faith. So yeah, that's one book, and it's an old book. And for some reason, I think many of the books I'll be mentioning are old books, really. The other one is, there's a book called The Feeling is the Secret. It's a small book, just like the name says, is how you feel about things is actually the secret to everything, It's so interesting that we as human beings, we pay attention so much to our thinking, we pay attention to our logic all the time. But many times, how you're feeling about something is usually correct because, your eyes are just in front of you, your mouth is just there, but your feeling is your whole body. When you feel something, sometimes even when you feel something, you should take it over what you are looking at. You might be saying something that it feels like, but your feeling tells you no, it's not right. You should go with your feeling. So that's what Feeling the Secret is about. It's a very small book, but it talks a lot about those types of things. It's an old book too, I believe was written in maybe the 1930s or 40s. Another book is The Art of Money Getting. Well, and you guys will pardon me that everything I'm talking about is money. But it is one book that if I'm not mistaken, maybe I've read this one maybe 20 times, so only God knows how many times. It's my go-to book. So The Art of Money Getting is another interesting book. Tells a lot about just the way what the name says, the art of making money. Another book, one I'm reading recently now actually, which is so interesting, it's called The Mafia Manager. I don't want that one to sound too much like a mafia thing, but it's an interesting book. So basically the book talks about how it relates the whole mafia setup of New York and how the Italian mafias ran. So they related that with business, some of the way they approach their things and how you can use some of their ways to tackle business. So The Mafia Manager I think the name of the author of that book is V. I think it's the author didn't even put his name there because he doesn't want anybody to know he's the one that wrote the book, something like that. So the Mafia Manager is an interesting one. There's a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. Brilliant book. The Game of Life and How to Play It is, I think this was written in maybe the 1920s too. So yeah, all the books that I usually read, I'm more attracted to the books that are written, and for some reason, I think they are just the best books in my view. So yeah, this I could list on and on and on because I quite enjoy reading a lot. But and and The Richest Man in Babylon is another one. Very simple book that teaches how to, no matter how little the money you're making is, how to actually save it, what to do with it. I think The Richest Man in Babylon basically is the story of I think there's a king when Babylon was the richest city or something like that. So there was a man in Babylon who was the richest man. So the king called him, or maybe the ruler or whatever then, to train all the men in Babylon. And that's how he used his knowledge to train all the men in Babylon, and everybody became rich in Babylon, and Babylon became the richest city. So it's an interesting book too. Yeah, so those are my books and much more.
Do you have any tips on how to hire the right people?
Hiring people, well, I think first of all, it depends on what role you want to hire for. But for me, I think it's the attitude. I'm big on the attitude of the person. Like they say, you don't make good people, you find them good. If somebody is bad, there's nothing you're going to do. You can't change a bad person to a good person. You find good people, they may not be skillful, but you can always train them. If they are good, they will always learn. But you don't want to have somebody who is bad because they are so good, the person has all this experience. The person could be the biggest problem of the company when you hire them. So for me, in terms of hiring, I look at the attitude. Now I don't necessarily get too involved when it comes to the hiring processes, but when I used to, for me, when you're hiring somebody and after talking a few sentences, the person is talking about the money and all that, for me, that's a red flag in hiring. We know that you are coming for the job. We know you're going to get paid. Why are we talking about the money again first? So, these are some things that you know where people's where their brain is or where their thinking is from the way they are. So when someone talks about money in the first few minutes of the meeting, for me, it's a no-no. Hiring again, for me, I think it's just attitude. I can't really, because I think I've seen where you think you hire the best person, they get on the job, they don't do anything. I've seen that so many times. They will have all the good degrees and all these things, but eventually when they get into the work, there's just something. So for the hiring part, I think attitude. If it's a managerial role, it's a different strategy. If it's just maybe, a regular, role or someone who's just going to be a part of the team, and that's a different type of, hiring too, or type of characteristics you want to look for. In terms of somebody you want to hire into a managerial role, you want to look at how they relate to people really. At least from my own experience, I realized that in terms of managing a business, creating a business, building a business, the biggest challenge is usually the managing of the people part. So when you want to hire somebody for managerial role and you see the way they communicate with people, you see the way they relate to people, that type of person, is a good fit for that. Some people are so good, but they don't know how to talk to people. So for me, those are the things. If it's not a managerial role, then I think that's when you start looking at, maybe the person is skilled at doing this. So if you want to hire an accountant, does the person know how to do the books? Does the person know accounting? Can he use accounting softwares and all these type of things? But aside from that, those are the two main things. For managerial responsibilities, you look at how they can deal with people, how they can solve problems, how they come up when situations happen that they don't expect. So those are the main things for me. Attitude, very important. Either ways, in all of the ways, the person must have a good attitude. Good attitude.
How does somebody who is not good at networking, how do you get better at networking? Why is it important to network?
Okay, let me start with the importance of networking. Network is your net worth, which is very, very true. Because in business life generally, it's really about again, we are still talking about people, just like we discussed on hiring. It's still about the people around you, and that's what networking is about. The importance is something that we can't overemphasize, the importance of networking, because as you grow in business, outside business too, it's really anything, you find out that you need people. especially the higher you go, the more people you're going to need. I've seen people who say, oh, they want to do their own thing by themselves. They don't. But how do you want all this money you want this big money, you want to be a billionaire and all these things, and you think you can be a billionaire without people? That's absolutely impossible. So because even the money you need is in people's hands. So you need people for the network. In terms of how and how to network, maybe this is maybe for HR people. But from my own experience, just being true to yourself, really. Because I remember there's times when even when we're in business school, and then there's all these networking events, and people go to networking events, and people are so keen about networking events, and everybody's rushing out there. Oh, you go to the event, you meet people, you're talking. But the question I remember then, a lot of events I didn't used to go to the network, especially networking events. They weren't my thing. I wasn't that person that was going to network. But I used to ask my friends then that, so after going to this event, I had those that will go to events Monday, Tuesday, where at the end of the week, they may have a phone book with all these contacts, but nothing to really show for it. Maybe in the future they may be able to get something there. But I think in the midst of all that, even if you're not going to networking events, I think just you being yourself when you meet people generally is very, very important, because I believe that it's not until you go to a networking event that's when you can network with people. Even just every single day, you meet people every time. Most of us, you don't even know the number of people you see every day because we don't pay attention to it. But many of us see thousands of people every day without even paying attention to it. So I think being yourself, being genuine, and the beauty of networking is not really when you meet. It is what happens after you meet. That's where the network grows. And this is where things like your integrity come in. This is where things like all those values that are not monetary values, this is where they come in. That's why you see some people, they're able to build have friendship and networks for many, many years, and so long a time. Many times it's not money that is holding those type of relationships. And especially when you get to the level where, I always say, is when you get to the level where everybody has money. So what are we now going to be looking for? We now start looking for values. We start looking for some people are just men of their words. You want to do business with them, what they say is what they're going to do. Some, you sit down in the same room with them, you agree on something, and they go and do something else. So I think for me, the integrity is very key if you want to have a solid network, and just being yourself, and then develop yourself. Don't assume that the way you are now should just be the way you are. When you develop yourself and you become that person who can be the friend of the president, for instance, the president will become your friend. But if you're not that person who can be the president's friend, you don't expect to become the president's friend. So it's just, again, the personal development side of you. And then, and integrity, like I said, is still part of personal development anyways, because everything works together. So really, that's an interesting question. But personally, networking is not my big thing like that. I like to leave that for the people that can do it. I prefer to be on the background and do the job. The issue is that people go to networking events, they'll just go, maybe have a glass of drink, and you'll be surprised that what people are talking about is irrelevant stuff. People are just talking, whatever they want. So for me, like, just to buttress what you're saying, it's not about I think when people say network, build a network, I don't think they really mean it that, you should go out and just be talking to people everywhere. No, it's more of, you have to be strategic about it. There are people you're going to meet, and you yourself will know, I need to build a connection with this person. But it's not everybody. You cannot say it's everybody you're meeting that you want to. Some people are just going to even, take from you and make a mess out of it. So don't fall into that. You must go out and network, and you'll find yourself just spending money in bars. So you're networking with people. That's it. You waste so, but that's it.
So this one is about bootstrapping versus looking for investors. So how do you know which one your business needs?
That's an interesting question, actually. Bootstrapping or seeking investors. I'll speak about it generally first, then maybe I'll say what my own opinion is. Depends on the type of business. First of all, every business needs money. There's no, it's not about something. Every business needs money, so that's a given. There's a thin line between raising money and then losing all the money that you even raise. And we see those examples everywhere now. People, they raise $1 million, they raise $5 million. But then, where's the company today? We don't hear of the company again. So what happened to the money? Money has gone. So the challenge, or rather, let me say the advantage that I think is in bootstrapping is that when you bootstrap your business to a certain level, even when you're going to now raise money, you already know where you want to put the money into. You know, bootstrapping helps you to get so used to your business. Because you're already used to that. This is how I'm going to make the money. This is where the money must go. And this is my small profit. Let me sharply put it here again. So there's a system that bootstrapping helps you to gain. That for me, I would always advise that even if you want to raise money, start with bootstrapping because of what you're going to learn from bootstrap. If you bootstrap properly, when you now collect that money, you're going to spend it properly, for sure. But when I have this nice, and this has something to do with whether the business is a good idea or not. That's absolutely nothing to do with that, because most businesses is about execution. It's not about idea. It's there's no, at least till today, I've not seen any idea that anybody brought up that somebody has not thought of before. There's no idea. I remember when we started the tech business in San Francisco all those years ago, and we had this nice idea with myself, and I had this Indian partner then. We're thinking this idea, it was only us that had it. Then one day I'm like, let me just even do some research. You won't believe I saw somebody else had been doing the same thing for like maybe 4 years in another country in Australia. So it's not really about the idea, it's about the execution. And I think for many entrepreneurs that want to start a business, I think we should first leave the issue of trying to raise capital, in my own view. When the time comes, when you've bootstrapped, and the issue of investors too really is a dicey thing, because again, we're still talking about people here. Because when you start seeking investors, you're bringing people into your business, and if you bring the wrong people in, I'm speaking from experience. If you bring the wrong people in, you will regret the money. You will be like, why did I even take this money in the first place? So for me, investment is good, because every business at some point you need to scale, you need to do this. But if you can bootstrap and know where to, where your money needs to go, I would even say that, go for the option of getting a loan instead of invest. And I'm serious about it. For me, because a loan, at least everybody is clear that I'm taking the money, I'll pay you back at some point. And it also, puts you on your toes too. So when you think about it, if you're able to successfully pay the loan back, for you to successfully take a loan and pay it back, then you must be doing something right in the business. So if you think about you wanting to grow the business, in my own view, it's bootstrapping all the way. And more importantly, you keep all the ownership of your business. It's not nobody's going to be calling you and saying, where's the money? Have you woken up this morning? So you gotta like have some level of flexibility for yourself. And when it succeeds, you have all the glory to yourself. It takes time, and I think that's the problem when people, you don't want to bootstrap, and it takes time, one, and secondly, it requires a lot of commitment, because not everybody can do it. Not everybody will have 100,000 naira now, and you want to chop, but you have to pay for the camera. It's not everybody that can take those risks and give up some things and all that. But I think for me, bootstrapping. And again, some people might have a different opinion. You can leave it in the comments. We are open to any suggestions.
I think I saw a tweet. Somebody said that when you just buy your first car, like, it's not advisable that you buy a sports car first, because especially in Lagos, because you will not know the road. So it's best maybe start with a small car like a Corolla or a Camry, so that you get used to it, so that when you bash it, you crash it, at least you can fix it. Okay. Then when your hand is now strong, you can now go and buy because if you just give a new driver a very fast car, that car is going to spoil in 2 months.
Definitely.
So it's similar when you just give somebody who doesn't have experience in business, just give them $500,000 $4
They're
million.
gonna blow it now.
They will pay themselves 2 million.
They'll blow the money. They'll go on vacation. We see people that collect investors' money and go and buy a car now. Yes, now they buy nice car, driving nice car. You know, it happens all the time. And most times it's not. And just to add, most times it's not because many of them, it's not like they want to blow the money, but they don't yet understand where money needs to go in their business, so they misprioritize, if I can use that word. You know, let me just sharply use this 35 million to buy this car, and when I first buy this one, you know, but before you know it, you spend the remaining money, finish, then you get stuck. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And let me share a short story quickly. When I talk about car, I remember, and this is just, you know, not even part of the question, but I remember when I bought my first car, and this was a long time ago. I don't want to talk about when, but it's been a long time. Because, you know, I was pretty young. I remember taking the car home, and you know, expecting that my dad was going to, and maybe my dad would watch this one, that he was going to ask me, where did you get the money? Which is what every normal parent asks. Where did you get the money? What did you do? How can you afford this type of thing? And luckily enough, my father wasn't even at home. He worked in Abuja then, so he came back, and the only question he asked me was, so now that you made money, what makes you think that a car is the first thing you're supposed to buy? That was the only thing he asked me. That's why do I think a car is what I need to buy? And I didn't have any answer, because I really did not. I just went to buy it without any reason. So from that day on, what that question taught me was that when you make money, first put it in things that can bring back money for you, not something that is going to take more money away from you. So if you're getting money, put it in, if you want to do short-led business or do it, then when money is coming, you can now start using your residual money to, you know, do other things that you want. And the funny thing is, all these things don't take time. It's us that always see it as young people that, oh, this thing will take forever. You know, invest the money, before you know it, in a couple months, you're making some money back. And so yeah, that's that story there.